Thank you. God bless you. So, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I will now take the tribute from the former President of Namibia, His Excellency Nangolo Mbumba. Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, the Gbeho family, dear fellow mourners, today we are gathered in this sober setting to mourn the life of a respected and revered son of Ghana and of Africa at large. It will always remain a mystery to me how something as beautiful as unity can be achieved through something as harrowing as grief. Nevertheless, today I find that we are bound not solely by the anguish that accompanies a loss as profound as this, by the memory of a dearly departed luminary who has left an enduring legacy which has impacted our lives and left a permanent mark on our hearts. Namibia is a nation that is born out of international solidarity. Ghana, being the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to achieve her independence from colonial rule, became the beacon of hope, inspiration, and assistance to those still in the clutches of colonialism, as it provides much needed diplomatic, material, and moral support to liberation movements such as SWAPO, and help buttress their fight for the right to self-determination. It was during the days of our liberation struggle that many Namibians and I made the acquaintance and thereafter formed enduring bonds of friendship with the late Ambassador James Victor Gbeho. I recall particularly the memory of the late Dr. Hage Geingob, the third President of the Republic of Namibia, with whom we shared this friendship with Ambassador Gbeho, working for the interests of our two nations. This noble son of Keta spent decades in public service and state administration, thereby inspiring the highest professional regard and immense personal respect. He was a model diplomat, admired by peers, and a man whose intellect and unwavering commitment to the progress of our continent left an indelible mark on the international diplomacy. Ambassador Gbeho traversed the daunting space of diplomacy with distinction, from the historic halls of the Court of St. John's to the United Nations. His career eventually leading him to serve this great nation of Ghana as Minister of Foreign Affairs, as Member of Parliament, eventually as President of ECOWAS, in addition to other responsibilities bestowed on him during his lifetime. Throughout this distinguished career, Ambassador Gbeho embodied the very best of African statesmanship. He belonged to a seminal generation of leaders who understood that true independence for our nation required robust diplomacy and an unyielding commitment to Pan-African solidarity. Those of us who observed his work from across the continent remember him as a champion of peace, regional integration, and conflict resolution. his ability to build bridges and find consensus during some of Africa's most challenging geopolitical transitions demonstrated a profound belief in the power of international diplomacy and in African-led solutions. An admirable legacy is one which is etched in the minds and hearts of those leaders leave behind, in the stories they will tell about them. When we use the expression forever in our hearts, it symbolizes reverence for individuals who carved their names in our hearts, not on tombstones. Such is the legacy of Ambassador James Victor Gbeho. Although it is with deep solemnity that we reflect on his life today, I am consoled by the reality of my privilege to have crossed paths with this distinguished son of the Ghanaian soil, whose mentorship continues to inspire me to this day. As an elder statesman, his departure leaves a significant void, yet his legacy remains an enduring blueprint for the current and future generations of African public servants who strive to navigate global affairs with clear sense of purpose. As Namibians, we will always remember his selfless dedication to the freedom of our country and its people. It is often said that history has no blank pages. Certainly, the records of our nation bears the marks of Ambassador Victor's contribution. To Madam Adole Gbeho, my dear niece Kiki, and my brothers, the entire Gbeho family, to the people of the Republic of Ghana, and to all those across the continent and farther afield who mourn this.
Hey, Sunday black and white. Yes. Hey, so installation for Montuma Casa. Me bacho me tusi me bacho me 4 years. Why? 4 years in Zimbabwe. Why? 4 years. Other 4. Yes, I will. Wedding for party name ceremony. Adori. Ajay. Me mama no. Hey.
For Shadia.
Hey.
Cotton le, sweet cotton.
Sweet cotton Nankasa.
A truly remarkable human being. May we find comfort in the extraordinary legacy Ambassador Gbeho left behind, and may the Almighty grant us all strength during this time of grief. May the noble soul of Ambassador James Victor Gbeho rest in eternal and peaceful repose. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Nangolo Mbumba. Dearly beloved, shall now take the tribute by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Thank you.
For more than 5 decades, Ambassador James Victor Gbeho's career rendered distinguished service to Ghana, Africa, and the international community. He belonged to a remarkable generation of public servants who understood that diplomacy demands firmness without hostility, friendship with wisdom, and an enduring commitment to dialogue, justice, multilateralism, and the peaceful settlement of disputes. He was one of Ghana's most accomplished diplomats. Beyond that, he was a revered statesman, a trusted source of counsel, and an inspiring embodiment of the finest traditions of Ghana's public service. I am extremely grateful I had the opportunity to learn from him. Following my nomination as Minister for Foreign Affairs by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he was one of the first senior statesmen I sought out. Even at the age of 90, he was as sharp as ever, and his grasp of Ghana and Africa's strategic interests in the current complicated geopolitical context remained unsurprisingly astute. In all our interactions, he spoke with characteristic wisdom about the strategic conduct of foreign policy and the imperative of advancing our interests with integrity and clarity. I am glad that the ministry had the opportunity to honor him in December last year, along with 4 of his colleagues, for their remarkable contribution to the country's diplomacy and foreign policy. In April this year, Ambassador Gbeho was hospitalized. I recall vividly how sharp he was when I visited him at the hospital. He remained hopeful that he will recover so we could continue our discussions on matters of national interest. Such was Ambassador Gbeho's devotion to Ghana, steadfast until the very end, and always ready to place his experience at the service of the Republic. Ambassador Gbeho was a true son of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He joined the Ghana Foreign and Commonwealth Service in 1959, only 2 years after independence, advancing through its professional and administrative ranks. He remains the only foreign minister in our history to have risen from the level of a junior career officer through the successive responsibilities of director, chief director, ambassador, permanent representative, and deputy minister, before ultimately serving as Minister for Foreign Affairs. His public service later extended to advising President John Evans Atta Mills on foreign policy and leading the Economic Community on West African States Commission as its president. Ambassador Gbeho arrived at the summit of Ghanaian and international diplomacy through a lifetime of discipline, learning, and distinguished service. His remarkable progression reflected merit, institutional knowledge, and proven competence. He did not merely lead the ministry, he understood its work from the ground up and carried its finest traditions into every office he occupied. On the global stage, Ambassador Gbeho demonstrated that a nation's influence is determined not only by its size, but by the quality, consistency, and integrity of its representation. From helping to establish Ghana's diplomatic presence in China to assignments in New Delhi, Lagos, Bonn, London, and Geneva, he carried our national interests with distinction across the principal theaters of international diplomacy. He went on to spend a decade as Ghana's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York, where he presided over the United Nations Security Council during Ghana's rotational presidencies in May 1986 and September 1987. He also provided principled leadership in the international campaign against apartheid and colonial domination, reinforcing Ghana's historic commitment to African liberation and human dignity. At the height of the Cold War, he navigated deep ideological divisions with calm judgment while preserving Ghana's independence of thought and preference for constructive engagement. Through his intellect, credibility, and moral authority, Ambassador Gbeho ensured that Ghana's voice was heard and respected at the highest tables of global decision-making. Ambassador Gbeho's resolve was severely tested in some of Africa's darkest hours, but he endured as the United Nations Secretary General Special Representative for Somalia during the closing phase of the United Nations operation in Somalia, and subsequently as the Economic Community of West Africa States Special Representative for Liberia. He entered environments where institutions had collapsed, relationships had fractured, and trust was in desperately short supply. Through patient engagement and practical resolve, he contributed to ceasefire efforts political dialogue, humanitarian coordination, and the restoration of constitutional order. He later brought his experience to his leadership of the ECOWAS Commission, where he firmly defended constitutional government and the region's policy of zero tolerance for power, obtained or retained through unconstitutional means, including during the post-electoral crisis of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire. Yet, his vision extended beyond crisis management. He championed the transition from an ECOWAS of states to an ECOWAS of the people, insisting that regional integration must deliver tangible benefits to ordinary citizens. In these demanding assignments, Ambassador Gbeho carried Ghana's commitment to peace into the heart of conflict and proved that principled diplomacy, backed by courage and perseverance, could help restore hope where despair had taken hold. For all his achievements around the world, Ambassador Gbeho's heart remained deeply rooted in his home and the people of Anglo, whom he served as an independent member of parliament from 2001 to 2005. His patriotism was nurtured within a family closely woven into Ghana's national story. He was the son of Philip Gbeho, whose musical arrangement of our national anthem remains an enduring part of our collective identity, while his daughter, Kiki Gbeho, continues the family's enviable tradition of international public service at the United Nations. Beyond public service, Ambassador Gbeho was a devoted family man and a gentleman, admired for his simplicity, warmth, and remarkable gift for storytelling. He generously shared his wealth of experience and wisdom with all who sought it, myself included. Beneath the gravitas of the statesman was a gracious and approachable man whose life remained anchored in family, community, and service to others. Ambassador Gbeho's legacy will be the exceptional length, quality, scale, and impact of his service, spanning the national, regional, international arenas. His life offers a powerful lesson in what discipline and principled public service can achieve. Ambassador Gbeho's example reminds us that patriotism must be expressed through competence, integrity, and sacrifice, that influence is earned through credibility and consistency, and that even the gravest disputes can be confronted through courage, dialogue, and respect for human dignity. He remains a profound personal inspiration to me and should inspire every patriotic Ghanaian, particularly those entrusted with public responsibility. In recognition of Ambassador Gbeho's remarkable service and contribution to the nation, I, along with the management of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, have decided to name one of our facilities in our new ministerial block after him to immortalize his memory. Ghana has lost an exceptional statesman. Africa has lost a devoted peacemaker, and this ministry has lost one of his finest sons. Though he has now gone to rest, his voice will never be silent. It will continue to echo throughout the ages. His counsel lives on in the diplomats he mentored, the institutions he strengthened, and the peace he helped to advance. We are grateful to have been blessed with such a gift. May Ambassador James Victor Gbeho rest in perfect peace with our Lord. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. What a tribute. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we now take the tribute by the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Aban Kingsford Sumana Badmin. Tribute by the Speaker of Parliament. Thank you.
GoDaddy has the perfect hosting plan for any website, from low-cost shared hosting to your own virtual server. Every plan comes with a 99.9% uptime guarantee, along with a free domain name and award-winning.
Hey, Sunday black and white. Yes. So installation for Montuma Casa. Me patch 4 years. Why? 4 years in Zimbabwe. Why? 4 years. Other 4 yes, and we wedding for party name ceremony. Adori. Ajay. Me mama Hey.
For Shadia. Cotton,
Sweet cotton, Nankasa.
Swiss cotton design.
Let's make us say.
Penny, I'm a bemo, a better one, open so no comfort.
Tribute by the Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, Speaker of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. I write this tribute with a heavy heart, yet one also full of gratitude to a man whose life was so closely woven into the fabric of our nation's struggle for dignity, sovereignty, and good governance. Ambassador James Victor Gbeho. Long before I found my own voice on the floor of this house, Victor Gbeho had already given the better part of his youth to the service of Ghana abroad. He was, in the truest sense, a son of Keta, who carried the name of Ghana with great distinction to the chancelleries of the world, long before many of us knew what it meant to represent a nation. While I, as a young man at Legon, was swept into the fervor of the 1979 revolution and the ideals of June 4th, becoming a part of the Aluta graduates as we came to be known, Ambassador Gbeho was already a seasoned hand in the foreign service, a man whose discipline and diplomatic bearing would later find full expression in the service of the very revolution that started my generation. Though our paths began apart, history would eventually bring them together. When the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC, transitioned into the National Democratic Congress, NDC, in 1992, and Ghana embarked on the journey of the Fourth Republic, he became a trusted advisor and later Minister for Foreign Affairs under President John Jerry Rawlings. At the same time, I entered Parliament as a young member for Nadoli North, united by the same enduring conviction that Ghana's hard-won democracy must be nurtured, protected, sustained, and never taken for granted. I recall, as many will, the countless commemorations of the 31st December Revolution, at which we stood shoulder to shoulder, he as ambassador and elder statesman, and I in my various capacities in Parliament. This reaffirmed a shared commitment to the ideals that shaped us both. I recall too the many journeys abroad in service of party and country, where his wisdom always tempered the passions of younger comrades. Ambassador Gbeho's service, first in this Chamber of Parliament as independent member of Parliament for Anlo, and later as president of the ECOWAS Commission, bore the unmistakable mark of a rare and gifted public servant. He navigated the complexities of regional diplomacy with the same commitment and humility he brought to serving the people who elected him. He did more than represent Ghana abroad. For decades in the councils of nations, he embodied the dignity, values, and voice of our republic. To his family, the chiefs and people of Keta and the Anlo traditional area, and to the National Democratic Congress, which he served with such distinction, I extend my deepest condolences. It is often said that the worth of a life is measured not by its duration, but by the constancy of one's service until duty's final call. Ambassador Gbeho embodied that ideal. He served with quiet distinction, integrity, and an abiding sense of purpose until the very end. As scripture reminds us, and I quote, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith," unquote. Ambassador Gbeho fought his fight in the corridors of diplomacy and in the crucible of our nation's politics, and he has now gone to receive his reward. Hede Nye, rest well, Ambassador. Ghana remembers you. Thank you.
Dearly beloved, we shall now take the tribute by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana and Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. To read on his behalf is the Honorable Joyce Bawa Mokhtari, Presidential Advisor and Special Aide to the President. The tribute.
Tribute by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, to the Honorable James Victor Gbeho. Born on 12 January 1935 in Keta, in the Volta region, James Victor Gbeho came from a family that made an enduring contribution to the story of our nation. As the son of Philip Gbeho, whose arrangement of Ghana's national anthem continues to inspire generations of Ghanaians yet unborn. He inherited not only a proud name, but also a profound sense of duty to country. Throughout his life, he honored that inheritance with distinction. From the earliest days of his career in Ghana's foreign service, Ambassador Gbeho understood that representing one's country was not simply an assignment, but a sacred trust. For more than 5 decades, he carried that responsibility with uncommon professionalism, quiet confidence, and unwavering patriotism. Wherever he served, Ghana's flag flew a little higher because it was represented by a man of exceptional integrity, sound judgment, and remarkable intellect. His decade as Ghana's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations in New York from 1980 to 1990 remains one of the longest and most distinguished diplomatic postings in our history. During a period of profound global change, he projected Ghana's voice with dignity, principle, and clarity. He earned the respect of colleagues from every region of the world because he believed that diplomacy was not about winning arguments, but about building understanding, advancing peace, and defending the interests of one's nation with it. As Minister for Foreign Affairs under President J. John Rawlings from 1997 to 2001, he helped shape Ghana's engagement with a changing world and consolidated our country's reputation as a respected and principled member of the international community. Those who worked with him fidelity to the national interests. It was during this period that I had the privilege of serving with him in Parliament. Although our responsibilities differed, I observed closely the qualities that made him such an exceptional public servant. He was thoughtful without being hesitant, firm without being confrontational, and humble without ever diminishing the strength of his convictions. He listened more than he spoke, and when he spoke, people listened because they knew his words were measured, informed, and guided only by what was best for Ghana. His service did not end at our borders, whether as the United Nations Secretary General Special Representative for Somalia, ECOWAS Special Representative for Liberia, or later as President of the ECOWAS Commission. Ambassador Victor Gbeho devoted himself to the difficult work of peace building. He said that peace is it is the product of courage, dialogue, and persistence. Even after leaving elective politics, Ghana continued to benefit from his wisdom. As foreign policy advisor to President John Evans Atta Mills, my former boss of blessed memory, he remained a trusted counselor, generously placing his vast experience at the service of the Republic. He never stopped serving because service was not simply what he did, it was who he was. There are men whose achievements are recorded in official documents, and these are men whose true legacy is written in the confidence they inspire, the institutions they strengthen, and the lives they touch. Ambassador James Victor Gbeho belonged to that rare class of nation builders. He did not see greatness, he sought only to serve, and greatness found him because he served with honor. As we bid farewell to this distinguished son of Ghana, we do so with sorrow, but also with profound gratitude. We thank God for a life so richly lived, for a career so faithfully dedicated to country, and for an example that will